screen that I'm displaying, you'll see I have a window open as well, and I have 3 things written down on it. The first one is I have //globals. So I want you guys to type that in. Double slashes, Brady, 2 slashes. Good job. Beneath that, I have void setup, open a curly bracket, and then I put a couple spaces, and then I closed a curly bracket. Oh, so Braden, this needs to be void setup and then open parentheses, and then open curly brackets. And you got to make sure you have a space between void and setup. Is my text big enough, or should I make it bigger? Can you guys see that okay?
Oh, there we go. Much better.
Can you guys see that okay? Is it okay? Yes? No?
Yes.
Maybe?
Sure. Yes.
You don't know? Should I repeat the question? Okay. So if you guys also want to open up pad 3, I'm going to be writing everything that I'm doing here inside pad 3, so you guys can follow along there, and you can copy and paste if you need to.
What's pad 3? The one on the left.
You should find pad. KTBYTE Fun2B. Yeah. And the pad 3
Are we all sharing a doc? Oh, it's only view only. So I can follow along.
Hold on real quick, guys. And just make a quick note of something. And so just the email you sent to Molly, a little ambiguous. She didn't originally have class on Thursday. Yeah, tomorrow. Today's Tuesday, right? Okay, so hopefully that doesn't cause confusion. Okay. Okay, I'm back. All right, so you guys, we should have globals, and then void space setup, open and close parentheses, and then void draw, open and close parentheses, and then we'll have these curly brackets after each one of them. So you can think of the curly brackets sort of in the same way that you, in Java blocks, would have those blocks that sort of look like they had mouths that would open and you could put things inside them. Anything that goes between each curly bracket will fall within the definition of the thing above it. So anything between the 2 curly brackets after setup will be part of our setup. And anything that falls between the 2 curly brackets of draw will be part of our draw. It should look pretty familiar at this point. It's just like what we did in Java blocks. So let's go ahead and try making some variables and displaying those variables in processing. So to make a variable, it's just like we would do in our Java blocks. I'm going to go to my globals, and let's say I want to make an integer. I'll type out int and space, and then I'll give it a name. Let's call it x, and then I use equals to give it a value. I say int x equals 10. So that means that my integer called x has a value of 10. So now if I go to my setup and I write print ln, open parentheses x, close parentheses, print ln is print line. This will print whatever I put inside its parentheses down in the little black box at the bottom of your processing window. So you have to put a semicolon at the end. Semicolon is like how we tell our computer like a period. It's how we say, we're done talking right now, we're done. So once I have this done, I can go ahead and copy this over to my processing window. So if I hit run, come on. There we go. In the bottom of my screen, I have a 10 that prints out, and have a little thing that pops up. We can ignore this little thing that pops up. That's not important to us, at least not right now. But you should all have 10 appear at the bottom of your screen. So Colin, again, the command is print ln, all one word. Like print line is what print ln is short for. So Serena, we don't want to do print line 10, we want to do print line x. Because we know we can print 10, that's not hard. But we want to see if we can use a variable. There you go. That should also give you 10. So I can't hear any audio from any of you guys. The only audio I could hear was coming from Lynn, but it was all staticky, so I can't hear any of you. So if you're talking, I can't hear you.
That's not my hand.
Is everything going okay? It looks a bit chaotic over there. What's happening?
Unmuted.
So what's going on over there?
My computer glitched out.
No, I can't hear any of you guys. None of your audio is working.
Hello? No computer for you.
I could hear them before. Oh.
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
So could you guys please make sure that your headsets are plugged in and that you have your audio turned on.
Audio turned on.
I was muted. Me too.
All right. Well, only person I muted was Lynn because he was having robot voices.
Hello?
I can't hear you.
You heard me. I know
You guys can hear me though?
I heard my echo.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So any questions so far on what we've done?
Nope.
Okay, cool. This should seem all very familiar from our processing days, right? Mofon, nice of you to join us. So we're working in processing today, Mofon, which is an actual typed out text-based programming language. So if you look at the screen, we have a setup that should seem really familiar because it's just like the setup we use in Blockly. Mofon, are you just spinning in a chair?
No, he isn't. He's not doing anything.
He's just spinning in a chair over there.
Nope.
Okay, well,
Can he hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Oh, I can't hear myself.
That sounds like something for a doctor to take care of. Okay, well, let's try adjusting our variables. So I made a variable called int x, and I printed it out.
Sounds
So in,
like.
so in my setup, I can then move forward and I can try changing the value of a variable. So just like in Blockly, I'm going to say x equals 15. So
I
now
don't
if
see
I
him writing that.
print line x, do you
I
guys
don't
not
see
see my
him
screen
writing.
updating? If you look at the whiteboard, oh, here, let me put that onto, there you go.
Oh,
So now if you put this into processing, it'll print out 10, and then it'll print out 15. So we set x to 10, and then we reset x to 15. So we can change our variables just like we can in Blockly processing. Brayden, you need to make sure you get a
yeah,
semicolon.
I know. Wait, what happened?
You accidentally highlighted the 15 instead of going after it. So now you need to put that 15 after the equal sign.
Okay, sorry. This is just what? Okay, 15. Wait.
I promise
I
you,
need
90% of the mistakes you guys are going to make is going to be like forgetting semicolons. That's just how it always begins when you start working
Semicolon.
with a real programming language.
Semicolon. And then I gotta.
Zachary, are you following okay? So Zachary, you only want to have one draw. You can't have void draw twice. just like in Blockly, if you have void draw twice, the program doesn't know how to handle that. So you want to make sure you only do it once.
What? I keep highlighting things.
Just make sure you're clicking and not dragging and clicking.
My mouse is glitchy. What? Okay. My mouse is just following. Okay. I just deleted that again.
So if you hit Control Z, you can undelete things if you accidentally delete things. So
Yeah.
Control Z,
I'm trying not to. My mouse is so glitchy. No joke.
Does the mouse button work?
It's glitchy, so wherever I drag it, it just, yeah, see, it follows your thing. You move it around and then it just...
Wait, Zachary, you also can't have two setups. You can only have one setup and one draw.
Oh, what? I added the next one.
There you go. Hello.
See, I just...
Can you help me catch?
Thank you.
Can you help me catch up?
Yeah, so we're just right now looking at how to assign and print out variables in a processing route. So if you go ahead and look at the projector, you'll see I have a window of processing open just like you do. And I made a section for globals. That's my section right here. And then I have my section for setup right here. And then I have my section for draw right here. So what I've done is I made a variable in my global section. And I called it x, and it's an integer. So I said int x. And I said equals 10 to give it the value of 10. And then inside setup, I typed print line or print ln. And then I gave it x. That's going to print out the value of x. And then I reassigned x to a different number, and then I printed out a new number. So when I run this, and to run a program, what you do is you click on the circle with the triangle in the top left corner, and that will run the program. And if I look down here, the bottom part of my screen, I have 10 and then 15. So I have printed out 10, and then I changed 10 to 15, and then I printed out 15. So I have assigned a variable, printed a variable, reassigned a variable, and then reprinted a variable. Colin, you have misspelled print both times. You wrote pritten. So you're going to have to adjust that a little bit. Now you've written print inlin. There you go. It'll turn blue once you've done it right. If you type something out and it doesn't turn blue, that means you didn't do it right.
Why doesn't it get in? I have a question. I can't get in.
Okay. So just like in a Blockly, we can access a whole bunch of types of variables. So for example, I maybe want to make a string and use my name. So I'm going to make a string by, again, going to my global section and typing out string and then naming my string. I'll call this one name. And then I'll print out, I give it the value of my name, Alan. So why don't you guys go ahead and make your own string and assign it your own name. But then your strings need to be inside quotation marks. Colin, your name isn't Alan. Your name is Colin. There you go. Zachary, have you created a problem for yourself? There you go. Zachary, could you please follow along?
I can't.
What the?
Lynn, could you look at Zachary and make sure he's following along?
His computer has some connection problem. Now it's okay.
Mofon, your name isn't Alan. Print out your own name, not my name.
Why does Mofon have my computer?
And you have his computer. Wait,
No, you have his computer. Where's my face?
Let me first.
Brayden, you need to have that curly bracket point in the opposite direction. You have two opening ones right now. You need to have an open one and a closed one instead.
It's
says up there.
Mofon, you have a curly bracket after your setup, or a regular parentheses rather. You need to have a curly bracket instead. You see we have that red squiggly line right there. That needs to be a curly bracket, not a parentheses. Okay, cool. All right, so now that we have given a string, we've made a string, we've given it our name, why don't you guys try to print out your string? Mofon, you need to put a semicolon at the end of your variable declaration.
What string?
The string that we made that has our name in it.
I wasn't here for that. It's not in
Is that
the.
Zachary? Oh.
What?
Sorry.
I don't think I'm on there.
Can you catch me up?
Oh, okay. Now here we are.
Can you catch me up?
So I made a string, called it name, and gave it my name.
Can you catch me up?
String has a capital S.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Cool.
I need help.
So now that we've made a string and we gave it we made a variable string and we named it name, what I want you guys to do is to try printing out your name in the console, that little black box down below.
So first we can define a variable for integer variable.
Great, you gotta put a semicolon at the end, Brayden?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I don't type fast.
Okay, I can help you to type.
Lichod. No, what did I do wrong?
So I want you guys to print. All right, good job, Serena. You're on the right track. So I want you guys to try printing out your name using the variable. Zachary, your name is not Alan. That's my name. Stop trying to steal it.
Good.
How come I don't see my name printed?
Because you probably didn't tell it to print your name. You gave it your name, but you actually have to tell it to. You have to say print name.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of you got it, some of you didn't. I'll show you guys what we need to do. Just like we have print X or print line X, I'm going to do print line name. And now if I put this into processing, when I run it, your name will appear at the bottom of your screen.
There we go.
So previously x gave a value 10.
Stinky
right?
Colin.
X equal to 10.
So who remembers the different variable types we used in processing? Or not processing, rather in blockly.
So if we print x again, we see what the value is.
Yeah, we went over a couple variable types last week or yesterday.
Yeah, this is equal.
So who can name the types of variables for us?
Equal, right?
We already used 2 of them in this program so far. Who can name? So we know we have int. We have string.
Boolean, not Boolean.
Yeah, we got Boolean. Good. What else? I want to hear at least 2 more.
Float.
Good.
Root beer floats.
So sprite is actually something that's very specific to blockly processing. Until a little bit later in the class, we kind of lose the ability to use our sprite class because we have to actually make the sprite. So we don't have sprites right now. But we do have something called a char. A char is short for a character, which just means like 1 letter or 1 number. So here is my first challenge for you guys. I want you to make 5 variables, and I want these 5 variables to relate to you in some way. So for example, if I were to do it, I would have int age equals 900. That's how old I am. String name, Alan.
You're very young.
Char gender equals M.
So
I'm gonna put O.
Float tall, I'll do 6.1. And let's do one more. I'll do Boolean likes eggplant equals false.
What?
Oh,
Aw, I love eggplant.
You can have all of my eggplant. I have no use for such purple fruit. So this is what I did for me. I want you guys to do it for you, though. You don't have to do the same variables that I did. You can make up your own variables. I want you guys to have fun with it and just sort of have it be like an introduction for yourselves. I don't really know you guys that well. I came in the middle of the semester last term, and so I didn't really get to meet much, really, you guys. Class was already going. So this is my chance to sort of get to know you guys. So Zachary, I highly doubt you are 6'1". And if you are, you should be playing basketball.
Why aren't you?
So Colin, you want to, for your variable names, you need to make sure they're all one word. So if you look like here, when I type likes eggplant, I type all one word. I use capitalization to separate them out, but it all needs to be one long word.
48. Okay. 48.
Awesome. Good job, Braden. That's a new variable. I like that. So MoFun, you don't want to print name in parentheses. You just want to print name. Because name in parentheses is the word name, but name without the, not parentheses, I'm sorry, quotation marks. Name without the quotation marks is the variable name, which turns into MoFun. So get rid of those quote marks. Now you should get the result that you are looking for. Remember, I want at least 5 variables. 5. Colin, true needs to be lowercase.
Gender equals to. What should my gender be? M stands for MoFun.
There you go. M stands for monkey.
This is double quotation. The more fun is double quotation or this is double quotation.
Colin. You know that people stupid because they don't allow to be recognized by their own gender, they win.
You should have
So funny.
you should have double quotation.
You can make up your own gender. That's a gender.
Careful, Braden, you did a 0 instead of a end parentheses.
What even? Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, go up. God, it's taken.
So we can actually, a lot of you guys are sort of printing these out one after another, and that's perfectly fine. But we can actually be a bit more creative with this. So I'm going to erase these print lines here for x, because I don't have a variable called x anymore. Don't do that. So I'm going to get rid of all of this. And instead, in my print line, I'm going to type out, hi, my name is, and then I'm going to do plus name. So now if I were to run this, what it will do is it will actually write out, oh, sorry, char needs to be lowercase, not uppercase. There we go. So it'll actually say, hi, my name is Alan. And I can keep adding complexity to this. I can say, and I am plus age plus years old. So now if I run it, it'll say, Hi, my name is Alan, and I am 900 years old. So if you use the plus between objects in your print line, you can actually print out multiple things in a row. Serena, are you only 1.11111111111 feet tall? You're very small. You could fit in a backpack.
How come when you write like M 6.1 and false, you don't have quotation marks around it?
Me?
Yeah.
So I have single quotation marks around my M because it's a char. So chars only get one quotation mark, not two. Two is for strings, one is for characters. And then 6.1 doesn't need quotes because it's a number, and computers understand numbers inherently. They know what a number is. So we don't need to give it quotation marks to try to tell it that it's something to be interpreted.
Okay.
So it's not something that we have to say, like translate this into something else. 6.1 is just 6.1. Same thing with false. False. We don't want to keep the word false. We want to keep the value of false. And the value of false is 0. I think, at least in C++ it is. I have to imagine Java is the same way.
The setup. Yeah.
Okay. So, Braden, you're going to run into some issues because you deleted your x variable, so you need to delete any instance of x as well. So that print
I
line x,
already. Oh.
you got to get rid of that, and you need to get rid of that x equals 15. You got to get rid of that too.
Yeah. I got rid of it.
Colin, you need to make sure your print line opens with a quotation mark instead of just ending with it. The first character needs to be a quotation mark. After the parentheses, that is. Right there. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Zachary, don't put a colon after age. You need to put a plus symbol there instead. So Zachary, you didn't actually make a variable called age, so you probably shouldn't use a variable called age. You have name, gender, tall, like pizza, and X. Okay. So if you're gonna do
What's that say? Nigh.
Where does it say nigh?
No, it's just on my screen. I can't really tell.
Braden?
Yeah.
Are you trying to type my? There you go.
Yeah, that. Oh, it says NY on my screen.
Oh, so Braden, you can't use the word height. You see how the word height is pink?
Yeah.
That means that it's a protected word and we can't use it. That's why I use tall instead of height.
Oh.
Height always represents something specific, so we can't use the word height.
Okay.
We call those words protected words because we can't change their value.
10 years old. Okay, cool.
All right, cool. Zachary, awesome. You got it working. And you have 5 variables. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good job.
So you understand this class?
Serena, you've got 5 variables. Cool.
Connect 2 strings together.
Colin, I'm going to do something real quick. Don't do anything for a second.
My name is.
colon, semicolon, and you're done. Woo, you're done. Okay, go ahead and hit run and see what happens. Yeah, hi, my name is Colin. I'm 10 years old. Awesome. Well done, Colin.
My year of birthday.
So sometimes if your text line is getting really, really long, it might make sense to split it up into 2 lines. So like if I wanted to keep going, I could say print line, I am tall, feet tall.
He's looking at me.
And so it's hard to really use a Boolean inside of a sentence like this, so we're not going to.
Really weirdly.
Okay, so if I want to do like this, copy this over. Still forgot to fix that. I should fix this over here as well.
Okay.
Alright, so if I run this, so now it'll say, hi, my name is Alan, and I am 900 years old. I am 6.1 feet tall. Maybe I'll do this char. I'll do a different char. I'll do char grade in math equals a. So now, I have a plus grade in math in Okay, so if I copy this back over, now it'll say, hi, my name is Alan, and I am 900 years old. I am 6.1 feet tall. I have an A in math. Just don't do that or I'll beat you. It's very harsh on our ears. All right. Is everybody printed out a line with some information about themselves? Bofan's still working on it a little bit. Zachary, you're all good. Serena's good. Colin, you're doing well. Brayden, you're all set. Okay. So, once you guys are done with getting all your variables set up and printing them out, what I want you guys to do is to open a new processing window. And to do that, you go to the upper left-hand corner where it says File, not New Tab, upper left-hand corner where it says File, and then do New. And make a new sketch. This is called a sketch. So we're going to do a new project. I want you guys to hold on to the one we just did because that's a good reference point for dealing with variables. If you ever forget your variables, you can go back and look at that. But now we're going to try drawing something on the screen, which is really where processing excels. It's really a very good art and like making a little game program. It's a lot of fun in those cases. So when I see a white screen on everyone's page, I'll know we're ready to move on to the next step. Until then, I'll just give you guys another 5 minutes or so.
I have a question.
Yes, go.
When I click file, I don't see
See,
new
new sketch.
Just new, just new.
That's new. That's new.
Oh.
There you go.
Ooh.
If you look at the top, it says sketch 170 something something something. So that means that is the sketch number you are currently on.
Oh. You go to files and you press new, and then that's it.
So actually, the
File
sketch
new. File new.
file new.
New file.
Your sketch name is actually, it tells you what day you built the sketch. The first two numbers are the last two number of the year, then it's the month, then it's the day, and then the letter is what sketch you made on that day. So, Colin, you're building 17/08/22, so that's 2017, August 22nd, and B means this is your second sketch. All right. So, whenever we make a new
What?
sketch,
Oh, shoot.
so whenever we make a new sketch, I'm gonna delete I'm deleting the pad. Right, and I'm gonna mute you for a little while.
You and your face. Oh.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna delete the pad, and we're gonna do a new pad. Clear that out. So whenever we start a new sketch, we're always gonna start it the same way. We're gonna start it by typing / globals. Then we're gonna do void setup, open and close parentheses, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and then void draw, open and close parentheses, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. These are the three things that we're going to use in pretty much every sketch, every drawing, or every program that we make. The globals is where we put our global variables. Setup is where we put our things that run once at the beginning of our program. And then draw is where we put things that get drawn to the screen 60 times a second. So these are our three important chunks. There are other chunks that we can put in, which you guys will remember from Blockly, but these three are going to be present in every sketch we make from here on out. All right, so again, all right, I see 3 white screens, perfect. So get your sketch, those 3 sections, the globals, setup, and draw, get those onto your page, and that lets me know that you're ready to move on to the next step.
Oh wait, what to do? Oh.
All right, just waiting on MoFon, and then we'll all be ready to go. No semicolon, MoFon, curly bracket.
No, that's him.
Okay, MoFon, you can catch up. I'm going to move ahead a little bit. So back in Blockly processing, we always had a canvas that appeared whenever we ran our sketch, whenever we ran our program. Does anyone remember how big our canvas was?
640 by 480.
640 by 480, yep. So in Blockly, we always use the same size canvas. We never got to change it. However, in just straight up processing. We actually get to define what size we want our canvas to be. So inside of our setup, we first need to type size. And this is going to tell us how big our canvas is. So size, open parentheses, and now we give it numbers. The first number is going to be how wide our canvas is, and the second number is how tall our canvas is. So I like to do 600, or I'm sorry, I like to do 800 by 600. That number seems to fit well on my screen. It's not too big, it's not too small, and it'll fit on your guys' screen too, which is the most important. So 800 by 600. So if we were to hit run, you'll see a gray screen pop up in front of you. That's how big your sketch is going to be. You guys can make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, or you can change the ratio. That's all fine. But just keep in mind that your screen is only so big, so don't make it too big, all right? Okay, so just like in Blockly, we can add a background to our sketch. We go to draw and we type in background. And just like in process and Blockly, we need to give it 3 numbers, and that will be our RGB value. So I want to do maybe a blue background, so I'll do 0, comma, 0, comma, 0, comma, 255. Semicolon. So this is going to draw a blue background onto our pad. Excellent. Good job, Colin. Brayden, you need a parentheses and a semicolon on that one. So this should all seem very familiar. It's just like we did in Blockly. Serena, very nice color. Mofon, you got a screen. Excellent. Okay, so we can mess around with different colors. So let's try displaying different shapes on our screen. I know you guys have done all this in Blockly, but we're going to need to do it again in processing to make sure that we all understand the rules. So in my draw, I'm going to make a new line, and I'm going to make a rectangle inside my canvas. Who here remembers how to make a rectangle? Yeah, it's rect, R-E-C-T. Open parentheses, and we need to give it 4 numbers, just like we did before. Our X location, our Y location, our width, and our height. So I'm going to say I want it to be right in the middle of my screen. So I'm going to say 400, 300, and I'm going to make it 50 by 50. So if I were to run this, I'll have a rectangle that's 50 by 50, more or less in the middle of my screen. It draws from the upper left-hand corner, so it's not going to be precise, but it'll be close enough. Likewise, if I wanted to make an ellipse, just like in Blockly, I'll type ellipse. I'll have to spell it correctly. Ellipse. I'm going to make this one in my upper left-hand corner. I'm going to make this one at 0. Here, I'll make it at 20, comma, 20, comma, and this one's going to be 30 by 50. So now I'll have an ellipse in my upper left-hand corner. So let me copy this over to my new sketch. So if I draw this, I've got an ellipse over here, and I've got a rectangle over here, just like what I wanted. I'll close that. So what if I wanted to make them different colors?
Ellipse, right?
Well, just like in Blockly, I have to use a fill command. Yeah, I heard a couple people say fill. So beneath my background, I'm going to type fill, and I'm going to give this maybe a nice yellow, 255, 255, 0. And I want my ellipse to be a different color, so I have to use another fill. And I want this one to be magenta. So now when I run this, I should have my different shapes, and they should each be a different color. Yep. Yellow square, teal ellipse. Sorry, I got teal instead of magenta.
And then you have to do the fill thing, which I was not listening to.
I think they're using different colors for this. Maybe they are using field or something. Color it? Okay.
Braden, are you trying to make an eclipse? You got a black circle in front of a yellow sun.
Field means
Square sun, though. Minecraft sun.
field is color, right?
My thing is I thought
This one is
Okay, so we can make rectangles. We can make ellipses. What else can we make? What do you guys remember from Blockly? What other shapes or types of things could we draw on the screen? We could do a triangle. I'm gonna actually save triangles for later. Triangles are a bit trickier. Let's ignore triangles. What else could we do? What else could we print on our screen?
the pixel of people.
Sorry, what?
Pixelized people.
I mean, that's gonna take a lot of pixel art. I don't know if we want to really draw that. Remember, we could put text on our screen. So let's put some text on our screen. I'm going to do fill 0. That's going to make black. And I want to make some black text appear on my screen. So I'm going to say text, open parentheses, and I'm going to make my text and have it say what I want it to say. Say, this is a test of the emergency broadcast system. And I want it to appear maybe at the bottom of my screen. So I'll say maybe 300 and it's going to 600, so 500. So again, text takes 3 things. The first thing is a string that we're going to display. And the second 2 numbers are the X and Y location of that string. So if I were to run this in processing, I would now print text on my screen. It's very small. You probably can't even see it, but it's down there. So let's try making it bigger. Does anyone remember the Blockly command for making text bigger? I can't hear you if you're talking. So does anyone remember the command to change the size of text? Dare I say to change the text size? Anyone? Think back to Blockly. It wasn't in sprites, it was in shapes, or even in settings. Well, I'll just come right out and tell you. So above my text command, I'm going to type text size. Oh, not super hard. In processing, a lot of things are named very literally. So if I want to change the text size, I will change text size. If I want to change my, if I want to make a rectangle, I type rect. If I want to write text, I say text. If I want to make an image, I type image. Everything is pretty straightforward. They don't try to hide things from you too much. So I'm going to make my text size 50. I want big text so you guys can see it. So now if I copy this back over here, now when I run this, oh, maybe I made it a little too big. Let's try 40 instead. And let's move it over. That's keep moving.
Blah, blah, blah.
Let's make this a little bit smaller. So there you go. All my text will appear on screen. Let's try 30. There we go. Blah, blah, blah. Suck of bow. This is the test, okay? Colin, you're just copying me directly. That's fine. Hello, my pet pyromaniacs. Okay.
Yep.
A little ominous, but short. And the last thing we really have to worry about drawing is something called a line. You guys remember how to draw a line? That's how to print a line of text, but I want to draw a line on my canvas from like here.
I know.
Here to here.
I know.
So what? Does anyone remember what the
You
command is
make
to
a
make a line?
rectangle.
That's
That's one, as in width and whatever.
That is a way to do it. It's not a great way to do it though. There's a much better way to do it, and that is to simply use the command called line. And line takes 4 numbers. The first 2 are the x and y location of your starting point, and the second 2 are the x and y location of your ending point. So you can adjust them by moving those around. So I'm going to make a line that starts at 0, 0, and goes to, let's say, 500, 500. That should work. So let me quickly copy this over to here. So now if I draw this, I should have a line going across the middle of my screen. Yep. It's not terribly wide, and I can adjust that. If I want to make my line thicker, I can say stroke weight, and I'm going to give it a stroke weight of 10. Nice wide line.
Okay.
Wait, how is
Now if I run this, a nice wide line. Stroke weight also affects the outline of my shapes, but that's okay. I'm going to copy this over, and I'm going to print it off onto the pad.
Oh, that's a period.
Now,
Yeah.
hashtag I love dolphins.
Wait, take note.
Colin really likes dolphins, so it's good to know.
Ah. My line destroyed the blue circle, and now it looks like a staff,
Okay.
kind of.
Is that a problem for you?
Who, me?
My line isn't appearing.
Your line isn't appearing.
Yeah.
Huh, let's see. Why could that be? Oh, what are your coordinates? I can't quite read them.
300, 600, 300, 800.
So if you think about your screen as 600 by 800, you're telling your thing to go over 300 and then down 600, which is off the bottom of the screen, and then to go to 300, 800, which is even further down the screen. So it is appearing, it's just
I
off
gotta
the screen. So
Switch it around.
change, yeah, you can change those 800s to something smaller, and then it will start appearing. There you go. Appeared a little bit at least. Okay, cool. So it's just about 5 o'clock now, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. I'll be back at 5:10 to start working on animation in Blockly. And not Blockly, sorry, in just straight up processing. So go ahead and take a breather, stretch your legs, and I'll be back in 10.
Stop! Stop! Love shot.
那个可能一个
I made a great flag. The country that it stands for is called blah blah blah.
那刚才指责做不到的。
Go fish, Doggy. Go fish.
Okay, the first leg should be lower pace. 它就是跟那个 JavaScript 有点像。我觉得也不一样，它就是纯用 Java，纯用 Java。对，你看这个，它其实就是一种艺术，它有时候比如弄一个黑的，它桌面输不了 JavaScript，它只能存一个 Java，一个Java 啊。那我要把 Java 放到那个，它是打包了以后再那什么，它就直接是上面的那个 JS 的它就直接就是在这个上面。我能在和 C 群那个上面上3次的好，然后它不能嵌入到我那个，我不知道怎么嵌入到我的。我不知道那个老师他没有教，他只教我们怎么做，没有说怎么做去实践。你需要不要这个代码要写设置 S， 然后那这个数学的，对，是那个程序。其实挺难的，但是慢慢还是要对，就所以我说小朋友开始学。
Ooh, Deptata.io, boss of the ring.
我看了这个。
Excuse me. Sorry.
对，就是这样。但这个做的很酷，你看，你如果拿手往弄，就是这样。
He's not stupid, bro. He's smart. Stop bullying him, you guys. You have anger issues. I know that for a fact. I can tell by the way you act with your mouth. Yeah, I throw balloons at everybody, hoping that you pop them.
You have that check. You have that.
就我们那个老师，他已经要很多上面就通过这 processing 因为现在讲实话玩 processing 人不多啊，就因为原学历的问题，他得了好多奖。不知道他是找机会，他应该是那个家嘛，就是刷。
Haha. Killed you too. Dum dum. Take to Twitter. I just killed this guy. Ooh.
就是招，他就可能就招，然后他们就是拿招。
What's up?
但是看起来很酷的。但是这个和现场灯光。
All right, guys, it is 5:10, so let's start to reconvene and get ready for the second hour.
Batting.
直接输入到那个控制器里。他 他们也有，对，他们也有那种，然后就有的就灯光，灯光好像就是它就是它的颜色亮点，它的全部都是一个矩阵，就在矩阵里面的就是就是那个灯光的一个轨道上的。
I locked you outside.
他自己不会水上面上下动作，他都可以。
You don't know what that means. That's Russian.
因为这个 processing 就是它的
Tell me.
你就在一个矩阵里边无限循环嘛。
That is what it means, totally.
All right, are we all here? Okay, so let's go ahead and reconvene and get started again. So we've made some shapes on our screens. We've made some text, we've made a line, we've made an ellipse, we've made a rectangle. All of which is excellent. So let's start animating and creating motion with our shapes. So if we go to our globals, let's make some variables that will control our motion of our shapes. So let's start with making our rectangle move from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. I know this is easy to do in blockly processing, and it's actually pretty easy to do in this as well. But we have to learn and sort of flex our new processing muscles. So in our globals, let's make a new int. I'm going to call this int, just call it x. X is fine. And we're going to set it to 0. Actually, you know what? Let's try this. I want to see if you guys can figure out how to do this on your own. We've all done blockly before. So I want you guys to try to make the rectangle move from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. I'll give you maybe 5 minutes to try to puzzle it out. Feel free to help each other. This is a team effort. You're not against each other.
Int x equals 2.
But I got you started. We're going to do int x equals 0. And that's going to be our starting point. Colin, int x equals 1. That's fine too.
You can't hear anything?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, God.
So Colin, you're on the right track, but we need to make x change its value as the program runs. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. Do you know why something with your name message? All right, good. Braden, you got it going. Serena, you got it going. Colin, Zachary. Zach, looks like you're on the right track. Colin. So Colin, you're using your x, but we need to change x when draw happens. So you need to not just assign x to a value, but you also need to make x change. So I'm going to go ahead and put up an answer for this one. So I've got my rectangle. I want my rectangle's x position to just translate to x. And then at the end of my code, still in my draw though, I'm going to say x equals x plus 1. So this will change my x's value every time draw happens, and it will create an animation. So I copy this over and run it. I will have the rectangle slowly scoot its way across my screen, which is exactly what I wanted to have happen.
Scootin' and tootin'.
Yep, except for the tootin' part. Doing a lot of scooting. Okay, so test number 2, or not test, challenge number 2. I want you guys to make the circle start at the bottom of the screen and move to the top of the screen and use a different variable. God, Serena's all over this. Okay, Brayden, you're getting close.
Wait, do you
Instead of
want my
moving-
circle to go up?
Yeah, I wanted to start at the bottom of the screen and the circle to go up.
Okay, then I need to do something extra.
So what should I do?
All right, Colin, you got your circle to fall, but I want it to fall up. Also known as to rise. All right, cool. Zachary's got it. Serena's got it. I'd say there's a couple ways to do this. The way that I would most likely do it is I will have another variable. I'm going to call this variable int y. And I'm going to have this variable equal however tall my screen is, in this case 600. And then my ellipse is going to be in second place, y location, placed at y. And then down here, I'm going to say y equals y minus 1. So it's going to go up instead of going down. Okay, and copy this and paste it over here. Brayden, I'm going to mute you again. You're making weird noises. But there we go. I've got my circle rising, and I've got my rectangle moving from left to right. Looks good. All right, so let's check your recall memory and see if you guys remember how to make a conditional statement. Does anyone remember what conditional statements are?
If and pifus.
If. Yeah, if statements, exactly. So when I make an if statement, I start by typing if, and then I'll open parentheses. And inside the parentheses, here I need to put some equation, or some statement rather, that can either be true or not true, or true or false. If the statement inside the parentheses turns out to be true, then the code that follows will be done. And if it's not true, the code won't be done. So let's try something really obvious. If 10 is greater than 5. So, is 10 greater than 5?
Yeah.
So, I'll do in here, maybe I'll have this make an ellipse at 400, 300, 200, 200. Okay, so if I were to put this into my code, I run it, surprise, surprise, I have a big ellipse right in the middle of my page. And if I were to reverse this, is 10 ever less than 5?
No.
No. So this, now that ellipse will never show up. So the ellipse is gone now. So this is not really the best use for an if statement, using two constants and comparing them, because it's never going to change. Instead, let's use something that does change. We happen to have two variables that are changing as our program runs. We've got our x and we've got our y. So let's make it so that if x is ever greater than 800, I want x to restart at 0. I'll say x equals 0. So before anybody runs this, what do you think will happen? Anyone have a guess? No guesses? Well, we'll go ahead and run it and we'll have a look. So I've got my rectangle, and it's slowly scooting across. I probably should have made my rectangle move a little bit faster. That's okay. It's just scooting, Oh, and look, it went to the end of the page and it restarted in the middle, at the beginning of the page. So I've made my rectangle loop. I can do the same thing with my my y-axis if I wanted to. So I can make things loop from top to bottom, and I can make things loop from left to right. It's pretty straightforward. So let's try making another shape. I'm going to make a new ellipse. This time I'm going to make a red ellipse. So I'm going to go fill 255, 0, 0. Excellent. Good job, Braden. You got them going nice and fast. And you got them looping. You got both of them looping. That's excellent. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Well, that's exactly what I wanted you guys to do, I should say. I was going to do something else. So I'm going to make a new ellipse. And this ellipse, I want to follow my mouse. So I'll tell you right now in commented. Do you remember, I think it was Braden, remember that word that you used that turned out to be pink? Braden?
No.
Remember you used the word height and the word turned pink?
Yeah.
So remember I said that was a protected term. Oh, Serena is already way ahead of me. So there's other protected terms we can use. And one example of them is mouse X and mouse Y. So mouse X and mouse Y map to our mouse's X position and our mouse's Y position. So I can make an ellipse that will always follow my mouse around by typing ellipse, mouse X, mouse Y, and maybe 40 by 40. That works. So if I go ahead and make this happen, now I've got this ellipse that's just following my mouse as it goes. So you're probably missing a semicolon then. Zachary, Phil does not have an E at the end of it. What you've written there is feel, or fee if you speak French. Brayden, you need to give your ellipse a width and a height. So you can't just give it 2 variables, you have to give it 4 variables.
You have to get rid of the E.
Mofon, mouse X and mouse Y, both need to be low. The M needs to be little m, not big M. Lowercase m.
You have to get rid of the E behind the fill.
Yeah, Zachary, you wrote F-I-L-L-E. You need no E's there. Otherwise that spells
Oh.
Mofon, again, you need to give it 4 variables, not just 2. You gave it mouse X, mouse Y. And then I gave mine 40 by 40, which will give me a 40 pixels across and 40 pixels tall circle.
My computer's glitching out.
Okay, cool. Well, let's start building a game. So it's going to be very similar to the game that we started building yesterday. Only this time we're going to actually build the game and process it. So we're going to do a catching game. It's a good starter game for when you just get started in processing properly. So we're not going to import any images for this one. We're only going to use the shapes that we have. Tomorrow, we will move on to importing colors or importing pictures, but let's not worry about it for now. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make a new project again. So I'm going to go up to File. I'm going to say New. And this one, I'm going to call this, again, Globals, and then void setup, and void raw.
This one's mine.
You guys can definitely feel free to save your lovely, lovely art sketches. You
How?
can call this Shapes and Motion by clicking Save. Give it a name, Colin, give it a name. Little box, type in a name. Don't call it stuff. Stuff doesn't say anything. It's shapes.
Does it say save?
Save, right there, save.
I'm blind.
Because you stared at the eclipse for too long. All right, so when I see you guys have a new screen with a globals, a setup, and a draw, I'll know you're ready to begin working on our first game.
I can just delete this one.
If you want. All right, sure.
Sounds like somebody's joking.
Okay. So in this game, we're going to have an object falling from the sky, and we're going to have to try to catch it. So we're going to have a... Excuse me. Ah. What, you've never sneezed before? Jeez. So we're going to have one object. We're going to have a rectangle at the bottom of our screen, which we're going to use as our catching device. And then we're going to have another object as a circle that's falling that we're going to try to catch. So let's first build our catching device. So in our globals, we're going to need, well, first let's set up our size. Again, I'm going to do size. This one I want to be taller than it is long, so I'm going to say 500 by 800. In my globals, I'm going to make first a pair of variables that will control my catching device's left-right motion. So actually just one variable that will control my device's left-right motion. So I'm going to call this player x. And I'm going to make it a float player x. And I'm going to have it equal to, I want my x location to be right in the middle of my screen. So my screen is 500 across, so I'm going to say this equals 250. So now in my draw, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a background. Background of 255, I like a nice white background. And now I'm going to draw my rectangle at my location of player x. So I'm going to say rect player x. I want my rectangle to be at the bottom of my screen. So who can give me a good number for bottom of my screen for this size? Any suggestions? Anyone? Brayden, any guess? What would be the bottom of my screen?
500? No, 800.
800, that's the very bottom. So I want it to be a little bit up from that. So I'm going to do like 750. And then I'm going to have it be 50 by... Okay, so I've got my rectangle. Let's make sure that I fill it with the right color. I'm going to do fill 0. Okay. So now we need to find a way to control our rectangle, make it move. So do you guys remember how we could listen for key presses Well, actually, do you want to control it with the mouse or with the keyboard? What do you guys think?
Keyboard, yeah.
Just do keyboard. I think keyboards, it'll be a good learning opportunity.
Bad.
So do you guys remember how we listened for key presses on our keyboard? Say it again.
Key press.
Key pressed, right. So we actually have to say void key pressed. So we're making a new function, and this function only executes or only happens when we press a key on our keyboard. So what keys do you want to control this? The left and the right key or the A and the D key?
Left and right.
Left and right.
Okay, so if we press the keyboard, if the key we pressed, we say if key code equals up, or not, sorry, up, left, open curly brackets, we'll say player X minus, or equals, player X minus 10, let's say. I'll close my curly brackets. So now, if I were to run this, I've got this rectangle at the bottom of my screen, and when I hit the left arrow key, it moves. It doesn't move back yet, but it moves to the left. And that's pretty good. We're off to the right start. MoFon, it's if key code has a capital C. I'll copy this over to the pad so you can look at that. So if key code, the capital C, equals left, then player X equals player X minus 10. We're mixing up chunks of code. All right, so I showed you guys how to get your character to move to the left. I want you guys to do it on your own to figure out how to make your character move to the right. I bet you can figure it out. I bet you're smart enough. All right, Brayden, you got it working. MoFon, not yet. Serena, you got it working. Zach, can you move it? Can I move the other way too? So remember, if it's left is minus 10, right is going to be plus 10. Excellent. So I'll go ahead and follow suit with you guys. So key code equals right. Player X. I'm going to show you guys a quick trick. I don't have to, instead of saying player X equals player X plus 10, I can just say player X plus equals 10. So that'll automatically just add 10 to player X and save the value of player X. So it's a bit of a shortcut. Saves me having to type quite so much. Oh, and I got to make sure I have my curly bracket. There we go. So if I go ahead and run this now, move, I can move left, and I can move right. Awesome. Okay. Any questions so far? Anyone? No? We're good? We're awesome? Okay, cool. So now, let's make our falling object. Our falling object's just going to be a circle. So for this one, we're going to need to make a pair of floats, because our circle Our catching thing is always at the bottom of our screen. That really doesn't change. But our falling object can fall up and down, and it's going to appear at a random place left and right. So we need to have a variable to control both the x direction and the y direction. So I'm going to make a float, and I'm going to call this drop x and drop x and drop y. This is the object that is dropping its x location and its y location. And in my setup, I'm going to give these values. So I want my drop x, which is the x location of my dropped object, to be random. So I'm going to say drop x equals random somewhere between 25 and 475. This is going to give me a random number between 25 and 475. I don't want to go too low or too high, otherwise my object will appear off the side of my screen, which is bad. I don't want that. So for your number, if you made your screen wider, make sure you make your random accommodate for that. I made my screen 500 across, so I'm using 475. Serena, you made your screen 700 across, so you're going to want to do random 650. Oh yeah, you're doing it awesome. Okay. And then I'm going to make my drop y. I want it to appear above the screen so that it falls into the screen. So I'm going to say drop y equals negative 100. Okay, cool. So in my draw function, now I can actually draw my ellipse or my falling object. So I'm going to say ellipse at drop x, drop y. Let's do 30 by 30. So that's going to draw my ellipse, but it's not actually going to make my ellipse fall yet. I need to change my drop y to make my ellipse fall. So I'm going to say drop y plus equals, let's say 7. That might be too fast. We'll see. So now if I run this, my circle will fall from the sky towards my catcher. Colin, your catcher's up really high. I don't know if you want it to be that high. Generally, you want it to be closer to the ground. Excuse me.
The computer's too glitchy.
So Serena, I think you have a colon instead of a semicolon, and you're missing a semicolon on your drop y. Look at your drop x and your drop y. There you go. All right, so I'm going to run this. And, well, that's 7 is too fast. I'm going to go with 5. And I want my lips to be a different color. I'm going to say fill with 02550. Now I've got a nice green ball falling, and I have the ability to go and catch it. Can't catch it yet because we don't have collision. But we do have our objects, and they're both on the screen. So here is where things are going to get a little bit tricky. In Blockly processing, we had that super, super nice function called if sprite is touching sprite. You guys remember that one?
Yeah.
If touching sprite. So that's what's called hit detection or collision detection. And collision detection is a very important part of any video game that you're going to make. Unfortunately, it's not something that is done automatically. We have to do it ourselves, which involves a little bit of math. So I hope you guys like math, because we're going to be doing some.
Yeah. No.
Let me copy this over to the pad so you guys can copy me if you need to catch up. Pad is now current. Okay, so we need to check and see if our ball is touching our catching machine, our player. And so we do this by checking on their relative X and Y positions, so where they are compared to each other. So I know this may seem a little bit strange, but I'm going to go ahead and bring up a paint tool because it'll help illustrate my point a bit if I can use paint. All right, so I want you guys watching the projector. I just brought up MS Paint. So I have my catcher right here, right? And I've got my ball like that. So one thing to keep in mind is that when we're drawing and processing, we're actually drawing from the upper left-hand corner. We're drawing from right here. So this location right there, that is our X and our Y position. Okay? Which means that this line that I just drew, that is our X position of our rectangle. And it means that this line and this line, this is our X plus width line. So this first line is our X line, and the second line is our X plus width line. So we know our ball, where's my mouse? We know our ball is going to touch the square, the catcher, if our ball's X and Y position is between X and X plus width. So in code form, if we want to write this, what we would say is, I'm going to put it in comments down here, if what do I call it? Player X, no, sorry, if drop X is greater than player X, that means that the ball is on the right side of the left side of our rectangle. That's good. You want it to be there.
Now we have to circle.
I'm sorry? So we're also going to have to check to make sure it's on the right side of the, it's on the left side rather of the right side of our square. So I'm going to say also if drop X is less than player X plus, how wide is my player? Well, I made him 50 wide. So I'm going to say player X plus 50. Now, if both of those things are true, that means the ball is between the two walls of my catcher, and that's good. But it also has to be low enough. I've got another line here.
3 if statements in a row.
3 if statements in a row. I know, it's crazy, right? So this line, that is my line called Y. So also need to check and see if drop Y is greater than, what did we place our player at? 750. Greater than 750. Open curly brackets. We hit the ball. And then we have to close all these curly brackets. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this into my code. But instead of in here, we're going to have the ball count as a hit. So if we catch the ball, let's send the ball back up to the top. So I'm just going to say drop y equals -100.
I can catch up, Dan.
That MoFon?
I need to catch up.
Oh God.
Mofon, stop chewing on the microphone.
Oh God, he is.
You just bit it.
MoFon, we all use those microphones, so please don't chew on them.
Tasty.
So the pad is current. If you guys want to look at the pad, you can keep an eye on what the code looks like.
I know.
That means you're probably missing a semicolon somewhere else. Colin, yeah. Colin, look at your fill, line 14. Look at line 14. You're also missing a closed parentheses on line 15.
But it's just falling down onto the platform and then coming up again.
Yeah, that's what we wanted it to do. We want the ball.
It's not being random.
Well, it's not. We haven't programmed it to go to a random spot each time. We can add that code. But we haven't done it yet. Right now, it only goes to a random position once, and then it just stays there. But we have managed to make the ball be catchable by our box, which is a pretty big deal. Don't discount this. Hit detection is probably the hardest thing you guys are going to do in any of the fun class, and any of the fun or the processing classes. It's just very, very difficult to have to think about the math involved with two shapes intersecting each other. So let's go ahead and make it so that when we catch the ball, it also changes its extra position. So inside that same block of code where we said drop y equals -100, I'm going to say drop x equals, I'm just going to call random again, the exact same random I called before, 25, 475. So now every time I catch the ball is going to move to a new location on the x-axis, but it's going to keep falling. And if I miss the ball, well, it's game over.
Why?
Because we haven't programmed the ball to reset yet.
Oh.
As long as if we can catch the ball. I'm not sure what happened there, Zach. Am I running it again and try to catch it again, Zach? We're too slow. Oh no. You want to make your guy move a little faster.
My computer glitch.
I can catch it.
It has to move faster.
So let's try making a score. And we'll make our score go up every time we catch the ball. So to make a score, what kind of variable do you think a score is going to be? Sorry?
Variable.
What kind of variable?
Integer.
Integer. I love it. Let's make a new integer up in our globals. I'm going to call this integer score. And what number should score start out as? Make our score start out at 0. That seems logical to me, right? You start off with no points.
Aww.
And now, when do we score a point? Or how do we score a point? Zachary, stop messing with your microphone. It's very loud. So how do we score a point?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, great. Mofan?
When the square touches the ball.
Right, yeah, when we catch the ball. So in our code, inside of those 3 if statements in a row, that is where the ball and that's where we check to see if the square catches the ball. So I'm going to add another line of code into that little section there. And I'm going to say score plus equals 1. So our score is going to go up by 1. And then finally, at the very end, I need to draw my score on the screen. So I'm going to say text score, and let's have it appear at the top left corner. So I'm going to say 0, 30, yeah, that's good. 0, 30. Perfect. And let's do a quick fill. Fill with black. Okay. So now, go ahead and run this code. Oops. An extra semicolon somewhere? Oh, missing a semicolon at the end of my text. See, even I make mistakes sometimes. So go ahead and run this. And I now have my score. Oh, shoot. Sometimes the window doesn't select. Okay, so I can now catch my score. So I got 1, 2, 3.
Easier.
The score's a bit small. I'm going to make my score a bit bigger. So I'm going to say text size, maybe 25. Let's make my text size a little bit bigger. There we go. So now I've got my text size up in the corner. It displays my score.
Just so slow.
Well, you are using the internet to remote into another computer partway across the country and use a virtual machine inside of it. A machine that many other people are using at the same time as you. So give it a little bit of credit. It's doing a lot of work. Yeah, I'm at 10. What's your guys' high score? Not even done. Well, the pad is current, so you guys can use the pad as a point of reference. And when I see everybody playing the game, then I'll know that you guys are good.
No. Oh, God. What? Well, I know how to get a high score.
Are you going to get a high score?
Oh, I know.
Oh,
Mm.
It's
that's definitely a way to get a big score. I agree.
where's
All right, so we've got about 3 minutes left. Not really enough time to launch into a new leg of this project. But congratulations, guys. You managed to make your first project in processing.
My high score is 14 million.
You mean 14?
No, 14 million.
Yeah. So maybe as like a little bit of a homework project, I want you guys to figure out how to make it so that if the ball misses and goes out the bottom of the screen, it also resets to the top, so the game doesn't end when you miss once.
Oh.
And Serena, looks like your issue, your rectangle, it was 150 across, so I'm not quite sure why you missed. Oh, I know why. It's because your ball is also 50. So it's 50 plus 150. So try changing line 24. Try changing that 150 to a 200.
How do we access this from home?
You can log on to your virtual machines from home. Lynn should be able to tell you your login information. And you guys can log into KTBYTE at home, and then you can log into your virtual machines anytime you want.
Yeah. I will write a document and send it to them tonight, so they can practice at home.
Huh, so Serena, it's still not working for you, huh? Top X is great. Oh, Serena.
I see what
Line 24, you need to do drop X, not drop Y.
do.
And then line 25 needs to be drop Y. There you go. Now it should work.
My high score is only 27 million. It's
There you go,
nothing.
Serena. Cool. All right. So you guys can go ahead and save this project as, cookie catcher or apple catcher or whatever you want to call it.
My high score is 1,000,003.
Fantastic.
Battery is 1,000,004. 1,000,005. 1,000,006. 1,000,007.
I got way farther than you. And I can go way farther. Okay.
Awesome. All right, guys. So that's going to be it for today. Have a good... Oh. What?
I mean, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Okay.
So I will see you guys tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay,
Hope you have a
bye.
nice life.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.